Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Empower Podcast. This is episode 44, Return of...
Tom Bodnar.
All right, Return of Tom Bodnar. Thank you, Tom, for being here. And you're again, for guests who haven't heard you before, where are you coming to us from?
North Denver,
Yep.
Colorado.
That's it. Got it. And for those who don't know what Empower is, it's a podcast run by healthcare professionals and community healers with goals such as having more transparency and awareness within the healthcare field, with a continued commitment to do this not alone, but together, and to have legislation even passed in the state of Colorado and throughout the United States in the future, mandating employers to provide and support employee wellness programs. And those can include three parts for each wellness program. The first part is a minimum of 8 wellness days for all healthcare professionals per quarter. Second, the uploading of funds into an HSA account per quarter that is tax exempt at the federal, state, and local levels. And third, the establishment of a third-party run anti-retaliation department in each healthcare system. Didn't know if we could start off here. Tom, if you had your community thank you you'd like to extend out to anybody before you do that, if we can, folks, if you can at this time follow, like, subscribe, share in any way, shape, or form, empower, if we can get the word out there. Sharing is how I feel we all win. So I think we can continue to generate possibility out of that. Really appreciate it. And thank you all very much for your support. And if this is your first time here, welcome to the Empower Podcast. So it's time to sit back, be yourself no matter what, and get ready to be empowered. All right, cool. So community thank you, Thomas. Is there somebody you'd like to make an extension out to, organization, person, or just a place even that's made a true difference in your life, or even any organism as well? I'd like to extend out. We did that with one of the last guests that we had on. And if you haven't gone ahead and checked him out, that is in episode 42. And that is with Steven. He is a psychic and he is a fortune teller down in New Orleans. So, yeah.
A shout out. I guess I would just shout out to thank you. I've been working the bedside, so nurses and CNAs, just in general, across the board. I guess that's who I would. I guess you might say I'm partial, but that's who I would send my shout out to.
Awesome. Got it. And definitely around these holiday season, please, folks. The overall mission statement for Empower was healthcare professionals 2-3 times more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol than general public. So please be safe out there. People are going to be able to do whatever it is they do this season. I totally get it. Be safe. Not here to condone, not here to prescribe, order, any of that. I've never been here for that. Just for safety, to be an advocate of that. And and to just know that it's one of the stressful times. Acknowledge that. Go into that with this and find your inner peace in whatever way you find it, if you need it. Because it seems in today's world, there's a lot happening, I think, even on the employment scale. Thomas, I didn't know if we had talked prior, if you wanted to share your experience that you just had happen as well. It was honestly a shared experience. So I was going to share my part after, if you don't mind, just to let you go ahead and have the floor here to talk about your overall experience as to what happened. A little background for folks, if I can give it. I was working at a facility, knowed Thomas prior, worked with him prior, got him hired on, asked for the potential. He was given potentiality for a bonus from what I get. And we'll dive in here and get clear and complete as to what kind of came out of that and the overall experience that we had. So, and this is a facility in Morrison, Colorado. That's what we can say. Yeah, that's what I get it. And I'm here for professionality as well, but to be able to talk about this is truly happening. I don't doubt it's just happening in Morrison, Thomas. So if you want to go and kick us off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I doubt it. No, I'm sure it's an industry-wide thing, but yeah, I mean, I guess I was hired at this particular facility about the middle of September. Really, and I up until the day that I resigned myself, I had no complaints against me. I had no one seemed to have any issues with me ever whatsoever. So I get a phone call yesterday basically stating that, we have a patient, psychiatric in nature. I'm trying to believe this is
First of all, were you surprised by a phone call from your employer because of your past day providing care, right? Because you were there the night before, it sounds like.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So that
Okay.
was the first thing. That was their first mistake. Is you don't call a night nurse at 1:00, 1:32 in the afternoon. That's rude. It's inconsiderate.
They called you at
It shows you're
13:32.
not thinking of anyone but yourself.
13:32. Hold on. They called you at 13:32.
They called me. I had to look at my phone, but it was between 1:30 and 1:45,
Your
somewhere
time.
between there.
Okay. Still,
yeah, I
get
just
it.
worked a night shift the night before, so
I
I go to bed, about 9 a.m. So that's late. That's the middle of the night for me.
Yeah.
So.
I've gone to bed at 9 a.m. after a night shift. I mean, I stayed up till like 12 or 1 as well too. So depends on the overall. I get it, but not everybody still to that point, it seems. But they did. And then what else would you like to share?
Well, from that, I would like to share. I guess they were less than thrilled about the way I handled a psychiatric patient, about how I handled this individual's episode. The problem is that the reality is that there's not a lot that could be done for this individual. And what could be done, though, and what can always be done, even if you can't really, as a nurse, do an intervention, if someone won't take medicine, if someone won't let you, sort of be a nurse, you can at least create a safe environment. You can get rid of all the heavy objects, the sharp objects. And we did. So, me and the aides, we got the area where this individual was at. We made it very safe. We made it very, a great place for basically someone to sort of have, a violent, sort of behavior.
Yeah.
This individual has destroyed television sets and computers. I probably saved many televisions and computers last night because this individual wanted to go into other patients' rooms. So I even actually recommended a Wander Guard for this patient, and I was told by the director of nursing that I needed to read the plan of care that she was a wanderer, but not an elopement risk. But I don't know what the distinction is. Anyone that wanders all over the building and is confused is a high risk for accidents. And the fact that they don't have this individual on a Wander Guard is them putting nurses at risk in this building because, I stayed on this lady like, white on rice or like flies on rice, white on rice, whatever. But I really, not only me, I know I'm talking myself up, and I did help keep this, individual safe. However, I had very good support staff as well that were doing a very good job with me. And one of the gentlemen, he was actually suspended the next morning. They suspended the aide I worked with because of some accusation that this individual who is not in their right mind made against the man that I worked with. And he's a very good aide. So they suspended him based upon the accusation of someone who, is demented. Yeah. And it's really not right. I mean, basically what's happening in the industry is
what's happening in healthcare? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's happening in healthcare? Yeah.
Well, you just got a very political situation because, the situation from a medical safety nursing standpoint was handled very well. It was handled professionally and very well. One of the other nurses there, though, the reason I had to step down is because apparently, and I don't know why, but I'm told by the nursing the day that I quit on the telephone when she calls me that apparently a lot of the nurses there have a problem with the way that I do my job, which seems very odd considering after 3 months of working there, no one had made a single complaint against me, and the residents and patients really, really liked me. So I don't really quite understand, and that's another thing, when someone can't be specific with me, when someone's very vague, it's just not really appreciated. And in their defense, to sort of put their view up here for other people to understand is, at night, I study Spanish in the break room. So I'm very easy to get a hold of. All the aides had my number. Everyone knows where I'm at. I'm in the break room studying Spanish, from probably midnight to 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And many times between midnight and 4, I will leave the break room. I will pause my Spanish lessons to go take care of patients. Okay. Constantly and without issue. And so I guess one nurse found me in the break room. It was dark. to be fair, but I was watching, Spanish television, trying to just get some practice in while, for the most part, it was a lull in the shift. And so she reported, I guess, to the director of nursing that I was sleeping, and it's just false. And then she also, made some false claims. She told the director of nursing,
were you on a break?
I don't appreciate this because it's really not right for people to make words in my mouth.
Thomas, were you on your break?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
So anyway, she told, the DON that I told her I needed to get more sleep. That was false. That was a completely fabricated statement. When she came down to me and told me I had a patient that was having issues, my response to her was, well, I'm not sure what I can do, but I got up and I went and assessed the situation. Yeah. And what I could do was I could keep her safe. And I did. I kept the patient safe. And that's all you can do when you're put in these situations. So, a little background on this other nurse. She's kind of, a little more old school. She expects, she goes through the motions of things a little bit more. And, and I respect that. Everyone has a different way of doing nursing. And that's why I really don't critique any nurses because, I find most aren't interested in being critiqued anyway. I'm certainly not. I've done this 11 and a half years and I feel like I know what I'm doing. So yeah. You do it your way, I'm going to do it mine, but, don't bother me. And it's just not right that, basically a senior nurse there, someone who's probably, put in a decade plus at this place, has it in better with management. And, she, for whatever reason, this nurse doesn't like how I responded to the situation. So she tells me, she exaggerates to, management, what I'm doing. But the reality of it is that at the end of the day, my job is to keep patients safe, medicated, and clean. Yeah. And that is done, and it's done very well. And, I can't help the political situation, the political climate of a place where you work. But when you truly go into work and you're just doing your job and meeting the needs of these people, I think you should feel very enabled to stand up for yourself and speak up for yourself, because so many people go into healthcare and they just take this abuse and they take this beating, and then people are, my own family says, well, that's why you get a decent paycheck, because they're abusing you. I disagree. I don't think that should be part of my job. I was injured by this individual, this psychiatric individual having an episode. This demented individual injured me. Mm-hmm. I didn't even report it to management. Management was clueless about it because I know, they're not. Management wasn't concerned about my abuse, at all. And the thing is that abuse does work both ways, and it has to be. And I agree. I think that, an entity like the state is great to have to come in and monitor this stuff, because every allegation has to be taken serious. Yeah. But it is wrong, and it is not appropriate to take what demented people are telling you at face value. That is not right. I think it warrants attention, and it warrants, some sort of action, but taking these things at face value for people who spent decades in a line of work serving people, you need to take that into account as well. You need to take the 10 or 12 years history of the aide into account, who's done this job impeccably ever since I've been with them, and probably for decades. Yeah. You need to take that into account and stop putting all this weight into what, one demented person says. Yeah. Because, we're there to help keep these people safe, I mean, I'm proud of the way I handled the situation. I mean, I wasn't there. I was in the break room when the situation broke out. As soon as I was briefed of what was going on, I was right there as usual. And I also think in the defense of a lot of nurses that I work with, I think a lot of them probably would. There were some very steep stairs to get to that room, but I'm very fast on my feet. I don't have a problem. I'm certainly not at work to sleep, but I can get from the break room to the nurse's station in probably about 15 seconds. If I had to. It was not an issue, but this other nurse, it would probably take her, not to be rude, but it would probably take her more like, a minute and a half to 2 minutes to get to the nurse's station. And I can see how in her egocentric worldview, me being in the break room doing something when there's a problem going on is atrocious. But the problem is that I can handle that. You don't judge other people's abilities based on your own. Mm-hmm. And it's a sad thing that after years of being a nurse, you're still, just your own lens, and you're not asking questions about a situation. So I guess, the appropriate thing for me to have done was maybe to, thank her or to, somehow mollycoddle her. But I mean, it just comes down to you've got to And if you don't have any trust or respect for people, then you're not going to keep employees. And the ones you're going to keep are going to be these people who, spend 10, 20 years at a facility that really are not that great at their job, but they're mediocre enough and they have it in good with management, and they're, just, go over well with people better. But, I met the needs of these people. That's why I'm on here talking about it right now, because I have nothing to hide. I met the needs of these people very well for 3 months. I also think that I had a bonus coming up that I had been not pressuring HR about, but just, making sure they were aware of. And I think that, I noticed there were a lot of financial cutbacks at the facility the last 3 to 4 weeks I've been working there. And I just wonder if I was potentially one of those financial cutbacks because, hey, I was about to get a huge payout, and they were probably counting on me being a hit and run. They probably counted on me working for a bit and then leaving. And then when they saw that I was going to, try to make a stay of the place, they're like, well, we don't want to pay this guy all this money if, the other night nurse basically said that he's no good. And I get it. No hard feelings towards any of them. They certainly won't be on here talking because they certainly, they don't have, well, you'd have to answer that, I guess, for yourself. But why would they be on here talking? Probably because they, aren't meeting the needs of the patients as well. The way I handled the situation, and I'm very proud of how the staff I was with kept the individuals safe. And anyway, I'll
go ahead and come in here. It's interesting because you were a referral that I had at this facility too. And it's interesting because I also, being PRN, I created the possibility of coming back home to be able to be a better friend, better uncle, and to be able to still invent the possibility of work as well. In the way that I did, she was wondering if I was going to be coming back at the current juncture in time. It's very interesting to see. I feel in the industry, there's like hyper tuning or fine tuning of PRN nurses. And it's like they only want them there for whatever period of time. And then it's out with you. I don't know, because that's honestly how I kind of felt with it. I get that they said the last time I worked, and this was it, folks, was October 24th, and it had been in 50 days. So it had been 60 days. And I totally get that, but it's interesting that they're like, we want to have clear books. We don't even have to actually do your taxes and stuff. I don't get that totally. I know registers during COVID, and some will say, "Oh, it's during COVID." No, there's still people out there doing this who haven't worked their PRN job for like 6 months, and there's nothing wrong here with that. If you're on demand, that's how it was years ago. I mean, I've watched even. I think one of the best ways, people haven't seen it, not to say that I prefer any shows, but Nurse Ratched is out there as well on I don't know if it's still on Netflix or not, but wherever it's at, you still see that person that comes out. California helped out, or at least that's where they shot a lot of the stuff that I know of. And there was no, we're going to call you up after 2 months and make sure if you're not working, you're gone. Like, it's like, okay, come on now. Like, seriously, and it was interesting back then too, when that time period was set, regardless if it is fictional or not, that it was somebody inventing the possibility of being their own boss, being able to travel. Like, it's literally what I feel it's kind of going on right now. And I don't feel the support from employers, because also I had asked HR right around when you got hired, and I said, like, hey, like, is there potential, like, for me to hear about the referral bonuses? And they were like, well, and it was like the whole, you could be a hit and run employee, totally get it. So got that moved forward, asked HR yesterday, and he was like, yeah, like, it's been like, about like 6 months since he's been hired, or since we've last talked about it. So I think we could definitely revisit, and we'll talk tomorrow. I haven't heard anything today, which was when I was supposed to hear. And today is Thursday. Oh my gosh, the 14th. So yeah.
Another thing to mention, Brett, is I had an incident with another nurse there. I reported it was very unusual. I think I actually told it to you, but the DON, he told me that she was going to get back with me about my complaint, and she never did. She never called me back. She never addressed it.
All right, I haven't heard this. So what's this about?
Well, I was passing meds, and I had a nurse come up to me, and this nurse just started making all kinds of demands, like just telling me to get off the cart and to come with her, basically. And I was like, whoa, like, you could ask me, you could say, yes, that I come with you, mate. Anyway, she wanted me. I reported just the aggressive behavior to the DON, who gave me her sort of generic corporate line of, that's concerning to me. I'll look into it, and I'll talk to her and let you know what I'll get back with you.
Hold on. So the nurse was demanding to get into your cart?
No, she was demanding for me. She told me, she came up to me. This is just exactly how it happened. Okay. So I'm passing meds. She walks up to me and says, I'm like, Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, you know me. The first thing I ask is, well, why? And
Yeah.
she's, like, why need you to open this door? I'm like, well, so I'm thinking she needs my keys. I'm like, okay, well, here's my keys. She's like, no, you come with me. I'm like, you need key.
What?
You can open a door.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, there were some doors she wanted me to open. I don't know what the hell was in it. There were no meds. It was not a med room. So she wants me to open this door. I basically tell her no. And she grabs the keys from my hand and just her keys she had given to me. But I told the DON, I was like, why did she want me to open the door? Why couldn't she open the door? The DON, agreed with me on the phone, like she always does. She smooths things out really well on the phone, made it sound like, oh yeah, I'm going to look into this. But basically, it was like just a complete aggressive behavior out of nowhere. And the DON never reported back to me on it, ever, not once. She basically pretended to care about what I had to say on the phone and then checked out. I mean, she obviously didn't care about what I had to say. She didn't give a shit, or she would have.
So hold on. At this facility
too, you learn very quickly listening and who gives a shit.
Yeah.
And this DON, she wasn't listening to me, and that's okay. But in the future, just some advice for her would be, listen to the people who are making you your bonus. Listen to them. I'm out there making you your bonus. So you need to listen to me a little bit.
Wow, you're on fire. Nothing wrong here. Let it out. I mean, like this is potentially what she's up against, and she's not having her conversations, or she doesn't like. I'm not always trying to invent possibility or condolences for everybody else, but I mean, there's the full picture. I totally get that. But wow, and the interesting thing is you were a referral as a full. I'm going to clarify this too, folks. This is something to check out when you're doing referrals. You were a full-time employee as a referral. I was PRN at the time. And I was told at first I was not eligible for a referral bonus because I was PRN staff. They said I had to be full-time to be eligible to receive a referral for a full-time person. So I see that, and I declared it to them, and even into HR, I told him, I was like, I see this as a form of this distinction that's going on of full-time versus PRN. I said, as I feel it's borderline of discrimination. And I said, it's interesting because it's having to do with the referral bonus. So I hope we can disappear this upset, which I feel it is, and recreate and move forward with this because there's actually a demand in healthcare. And it seems as if the system is not really supporting that. And if they are, I mean, literally, this is a full audit. Like, I haven't heard back from HR so far. And they said today, totally get it. I mean, I'll check right now while we're on our call just to make sure. But very difficult to contact this HR department as well. They have the HR representative working in two different buildings. Not to say that I've had a bad experience. He was professional with me. We were able to talk and recreate. But honestly, I feel like some people are taking on more or pouring out of cups that they have nothing to give. And with that, if I can transition, there's a book I'm reading. It's called Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle by Emily Nagoski. I'll go ahead and throw it in here. I just wanted to read a little bit here that she had talked about, at least just in the introduction. It was very powerful, I feel. And for those who are like, when did this come out? This came out in 2019. So we have some research in it. It does have notations throughout it, so please go ahead and have fun with that. But it turns out the actual term burnout was coined back in 1975 by Herbert Freudenberger. It has three components. The first is emotional exhaustion. That's the fatigue that comes from caring too much for too long. 2 is depersonalization. This is the depletion of empathy, caring, and compassion. And then there's the third component of burnout, which is decreased sense of accomplishment, an unconquerable sense of futility, feeling that nothing you do makes any difference. Burnout is highly prevalent. 2 to 20 to 30% of teachers in America have high levels of burnout, and people who are in healthcare professionals actually can be as high, as they say here, as 52%. And nearly all research on burnout is on professional burnouts, so specifically people who help people, like teachers, nurses. And there's actually growing research in the parental burnout, which is actually another thing, because honestly, they say that emotions, if we look at them, at their basic level, are the release of neurochemicals in our brain in response to some stimuli. You see a person or your crush across the room, and your brain releases chemicals, and they trigger. Your heartbeat gets faster, your hormones shift, your stomach flutters, you take a deep breath, you sigh. All this stuff happens, and every system in your body responds to some chemical and electrical cascade. So that emotion is automatic and instantaneous. It happens everywhere. And left to our own devices, these can cause these emotions that we have can actually cause whole body reactions to some stimuli, and they're tunnels. People, they can be a tunnel, and there's usually at the end there's lights at the end of the tunnel. Another thing they talk about, which is very interesting, this is still the introduction, is they quote Down Girl, which is the logic of misogyny. A philosopher, Kate Mann, described a system called the human givers, which there's a distinction in people of there's the human givers, and then there's humanity. So there's the human givers are expected to offer time, attention, affection, and their bodies willingly, placidly to other classes of people, and which are the human beings. And the implication of these terms is that the human beings have a moral obligation to be or express their humanity, while the human givers have a moral obligation to give their humanity to the human beings. Guess which one women and nurses and the giver people are, and the people helping people? That's right. That's us. The human givers are the attentive, loving subordinates to the human beings. The giver's role is to give their whole humanity to the beings so that the beings can be their full humanity. So they can really be human. Givers are expected to advocate any resources or power that they may happen to acquire, their jobs, their love, or their bodies. Those belong to the beings. The human givers also need to be pretty, they need to be happy, they need to be calm, generous, attentive to the needs of others, which means that you must never be ugly, angry, upset, ambitious, or attentive to your own needs. Givers are not supposed to need anything. If they dare ask for or demand anything, it's a violation of their role as a giver, and they need to be punished. And if a giver doesn't obediently and sweetly hand over whatever a being wants, for that too the giver may be punished, shamed, or destroyed. If we had set out to design a system to endure burnout in half the population, we could not have constructed anything more efficient.
Wow, that is packed right there.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's a distinction to be able to declare it for yourself when you go in there. And you go in for your shifts right before you clock in. That moment where you're waiting outside before you clock in. We all have it. It's cool. That's the empowerment right there. You already have it walking in. Cool. Awesome. So glad. You had it on your way in for your drive with music. Awesome. Great. Keep it going and pass it along. Spread it like the plague.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting to see that and this is the thing I said to HR, it's a distinction I think for me to take away is it's amazing that there's a system now to support, and people are trying to invent possibilities, if they do, to recreate in their life since COVID. And I feel that's what I was doing, coming back. There was nothing wrong with it, being a better friend, being a better uncle. And it seems as if I was also trying to invent the possibility of helping out my community back in Colorado to help them have a full-time nurse and you didn't just work full-time hours, right? You worked overtime from what I remember.
I worked 48 hours a week. Yes.
Okay. Got it. And you worked this is the other thing is you don't even know this just yet, as if you have going to hear back in your conversation. I think you had shared was in regards to if you're still going to get your bonus, because technically you've met the requirements to get it. It's just you've quit. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. And I'm not even interested in their money and their bonus. Like this industry, there's money everywhere. I mean, I'm like a living. What I'm looking for is respect from an employer. I want, and I don't mean, undue or, abnormal respect. I just mean, listen to what I have to say. Don't basically put all your eggs in, one person's basket.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have a question.
I've done this for 11 and a half years.
Yeah.
I think I should have a little say
I get it.
in
Thomas,
what quality care looks like.
Thomas,
I think I know quality care versus non-quality care.
Thomas,
and
Thomas,
anyway,
if you were to, you're okay. Nothing wrong here. If you were to have a mental health and wellness day, do you think that would have made a difference here? After this episode,
this individual that it was there's just nothing that with this individual. The only thing you could do is keep the individual safe. You couldn't intervene in any way.
Okay.
I tried. I got injured.
Yeah.
I had another nurse try to give
Please
medicine.
report
she
that.
wasn't able to do it.
All right. Well, Thomas, thank you very much for coming on again. Appreciate you returning as a guest. It's a true pleasure. Look forward to it in the future. For those, Thomas is back by popular demand as well. Look forward to recreating this from these upsets that you do have, and hopefully move forward. and being able to stay empowered and safe this upcoming holiday season. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I really believe in what this platform is doing, giving a voice to people who are in the trenches of healthcare. Hopefully, you'll have more people on here in the future with their side of their experience in healthcare.
And we're going to end with a humorous quote. I think it's nice to bring us all back. Is they say that good bakers make more dough and make good dough. There you go. So be a good baker, everybody. And we hope you have a great holiday season. And thanks for being here again. Appreciate it, Thomas. It's been episode 44, Return of Thomas. Thank you. Bye for now.